Hello my beautiful friends, if this is your first time to my channel, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Emily and today I'm going to be showing you guys some alternative single shadows to the brand new Kylie Sipping Pretty 21st birthday palette. So let's go ahead and get right on into what I chose here. So all of these single shadows are just things that I had lying around in my collection that I felt like kind of represented the brand new Kylie Sipping Pretty palette. Now before anyone leaves me the inevitable, how would you know if these are dupes if you've never even tried the palette comment? These are not exact dupes by any means. So these might be totally different than what Kylie actually has in the palette, but I'm just going off of pictures of the palette and swatches that I've seen her personally do of the palette. And the whole point of this is not to go purchase all of these, because purchasing all of these would probably be more expensive than the actual palette itself, which is $68. These types of videos are made for people like me who have a lot of single shadows in their collection, and maybe you do too at home and you like this color scheme. Maybe if you've been considering picking up this palette and you know you have a lot of single shadows, then just check your single shadow collection and maybe you already have something like the Kylie palette at home already existing in single shadow form. So that's why I make videos like these, because I want to inform and help out anyone who is like me and likes to collect single shadows. This way they don't have to go out and spend the $68 on the Kylie palette if they already own all of the colors just in single shadow form. Or if you just want to pick up one or two shades from the Kylie palette but you don't want to go purchase the entire thing and spend the entire 68 bucks, then you can just pick up one or two that intrigue you and end up spending a little bit less money. But with that disclaimer aside, let's go ahead and get right on into the colors that I picked to replicate the Kylie palette. So the first color that really drew my attention in the Kylie palette was a beautiful hot fuchsia matte pink, and I knew that I had one in my collection already, so I went ahead and pulled out Colored Raine's Party Drip, which is one of their new pressed pigments. This shade to me looks almost identical to the one in the Kylie palette, and I think it is such a beautiful hot fuchsia shade. I am obsessed with pinks. I love hot matte pinks, and this one was right up my alley. I also noticed that Kylie seemed to have kind of a bronzy red toned metallic, so I decided to reach for Clionadh's Salamander, which is right up here, which is a beautiful kind of bronzy orangey red toned metallic shade. It is so bright and so stunning on the eyes, and I think this one looks very similar to the one in the Kylie palette. I also saw that Kylie put in a more kind of terracotta toned peach, so I decided to reach for Sydney Grace's Tart, which is a matte peachy terracotta kind of pinky shade. I love this for blending out the crease. I love it for starting out a pink look. It is absolutely beautiful and blendable, and to me it looks very similar to the one in the Kylie palette. Then I noticed that she had a really stunning, bright, kind of matte reddish berry tone. So I decided to reach for one of my Inglot Freedom shadows. All of their shadows are numbered, so this is the number 50. The shade has a little bit of a micro shimmer to it. It looks like it has a little bit of a golden kind of shimmer running through it, but it essentially looks matte when you put it on the eyes, and it's a beautiful kind of pinky berry tone, and I think it looks very reminiscent of the shade in the Kylie palette, and I just absolutely love shades like these. I also noticed that Kylie had a really gorgeous kind of matte tangerine peachy tone in the second row, so I decided to pull for Colourpop's Best Coast Scenario, which is a beautiful like matte tangerine orange peachy shade. I love it for starting out a pink look. I also love it for starting out an orange look or a red look, and it's one of my favorite shadows in my entire collection. One of the other shades that stood out to me in the Kylie palette was a beautiful metallic shimmery looking fuchsia shade that kind of matched the matte fuchsia shade that she put in the top row. It kind of looked like it was its counterpart, if you know what I mean. But I really love that shade, and I decided to pull out Kylie Cosmetics Eros, which is this beautiful metallic fuchsia shade. It essentially looks exactly like the matte shade that I picked out, which is what I was going for because that's what it looks like in the Kylie palette. It looks like you could really pair together that hot matte fuchsia and pat the metallic fuchsia all over the lid for a bright neon pink monochromatic look, and I absolutely love the idea of that. Kylie also decided to pull in a beautiful metallic purple shade that I really thought was a good choice for this palette because it really pulls together some of these more pink tones with some of the plums. It even kind of brings that blue all together as one really cohesive palette. So the shade that I had in my collection that was the most similar to the swatches that I saw of Kylie's purple is the shade Lacy by Clionadh Cosmetics. It's a beautiful kind of pinky, mauvey purple tone metallic. It is absolutely gorgeous with some of these pink tones, and I think it looks very similar to Kylie's. Now moving on to that beautiful metallic blue that Kylie popped in this palette. I think that was a great choice for this palette, and I love the combination of the blue with the pinks with the purple. I love that color combo. I think she did a great job at putting a blue in there, and I actually don't own any single shadows that are reminiscent of her blue. It's a really beautiful, true royal metallic blue, but I did have one in a palette. So I pulled out my BH Cosmetics Weekend Festival palette, and I just popped in the shade Trance here, which is a beautiful metallic royal blue, which looks almost identical to the one in the Kylie palette. But since I don't own any single shadows that are this beautiful metallic royal blue, I wanted to include one that I've seen online a few times by Colourpop in the shade Two Piece. This looks very reminiscent of the Kylie color, and if you are looking to pick up a shade that's similar to the one in the Kylie palette, then I think that Colourpop's Two Piece might be a good choice. Moving on to the last row here, Kylie had a beautiful metallic kind of apricot-y peachy gold shade. So I popped in Sydney Grace's Lucky Peach, which is right down here. It's a beautiful metallic peachy golden shade, and I thought it looked very similar to the one in the Kylie palette. Kylie also pulled in some beautiful matte plums in this palette, which I really personally liked. And I decided to reach for Colourpop's Going Steady right down here, which is a really nice matte kind of berry plummy shade. But this shade is not too deep to the point where it's going to turn any look super smoky. You can go in with a light hand with this specific shade and get kind of a wash of a plummy berry tone, or you can really build it up to really get that smoky effect. I also decided to pop in Makeup Geek's Razzleberry, which is a beautiful matte raspberry shade. I did notice that one of Kylie's kind of plummy tone colors was a little bit more on the berry side, and it did have some shimmer throughout it, even though it was a matte formula. And when I saw that shade, I immediately thought of Razzleberry. This shade has a golden shimmer throughout the matte base, but it just kind of blends away on the eyes, so honestly it just acts as a matte, but I just love the tone of this shadow so freaking much. I was watching a cooking show last night, and some dude was making a sponge cake with a raspberry jelly on top, and all I could think about when I was looking at his raspberry jelly was this eyeshadow, because it looks exactly like raspberry jam essentially. And now I'm hungry, and now I want sponge cake with raspberry jam on it. And finally, in my little mock Kylie palette here, she had a beautiful metallic kind of purpley taupe shade. And when I saw that shade, I immediately thought of Anastasia Beverly Hills Pink Champagne, which is the last shade in the palette here. This is a beautiful metallic kind of purpley taupey gray tone. They call this type of shade a titanium formula in the ABH line. It's a beautiful, super metallic, super high shine type of formula, and I thought it looked spot on to the shade in the Kylie palette. But those are all of my similar shadows in my collection to the brand new Kylie Sipping Pretty 21st Birthday palette. Like I said, these are not going to be all exact dupes, and I didn't want to dupe out every single color in the palette because there was just some more basic colors in the palette that you could use to really get a daytime look, or you could use to start out looks with. But we all have camel browns and regular browns, so I decided to just totally eliminate those from this palette that I put together. But I hope you were able to find it helpful. If you were wanting some of the shades from the Kylie palette, but you didn't want to go out and purchase the whole thing, I hope that some of these dupes can be helpful for you. But I do hope that you consider subscribing if you have not already. I am doing all sorts of makeup goodness here on this channel, so if you are not already subscribed and you would like to be, I would love to see you hit that button down below. I do also hope that you consider giving this video a big old thumbs up and hitting that notification bell down below as well if you enjoy my videos, and if you do not, then you don't have to do any of that. So thanks for stopping by. But I hope you are having an absolutely amazing and fantastic day wherever you are, and thank you so much for watching today. I hope to see you next time. Bye!